a British Army officer for 23 years and then retiring as a senior officer. Andrew Parsons joins us today to discuss how he transitioned from delivering technical and business consultancy across both the public and private sectors, whilst also co-founding the Sky Wave Distilling Company, whose, I believe, signature London gin has just been crowned as the world's best contemporary gin. Is that right, Andrew?
Not just a couple of years ago now.
A couple of years ago.
But we got a gold medal for our new vodka. So 77 awards now in the past couple of years, yes.
So it's pretty good stuff then?
It's the best in the world.
Very good. Well, listen, Andrew, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to share with us some of some of the stories and some of the experiences you've had whilst being in business. It'd be great to kick us off with just a bit more of a description around what you guys offer and what sort of products you bring to market, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. So Skywave is an ultra premium gin and vodka producer. We have 9 products in the portfolio now of different sizes and different packaging. We have 2 London Dry gins, 2 fruit gins, a gin liqueur, a navy strength gin, a vodka, a spiced apple liqueur, and we'd also do a grapefruit bitters that complements the gins perfectly well. As I said, in a variety of different sizes and shapes. That's our own brand. We have a couple of bars that we own and run and sell our own gins through those gin and cocktail bars. We also do bespoke gins for other clients. So we make 3 gins for Glen and Palace, gin, other gins across the country, their own brands. And we never white label our own gin. That bespoke gin's created for them, so that's not Skywave gin in another bottle. Yeah. But we do have a white label gin that we do. So those bespoke gins will be unique for that client. Yeah. But we do create a single white label gin. We call it our number 4 gin, which we will white label, and that allows us to have lower MOQs for anybody from big corporates down to a small solicitor that wants 25 bottles to celebrate or whatever. So really our revenue streams are those own brand gin and vodka sales, the events, the bars and events, the bespoke gins, and then the white label are effectively 4 revenue streams.
So that sounds very good, and certainly gin is is a massive trend and stuff over the last few years. What brought you into it? How did you transition from, as I said in your intro, our army to gin?
Entirely by accident. It really was. So my business partner, wife, and co-director, co-founder, and I have always been gin drinkers. Yeah. Traveled all over the world. We like to sample the local gins, big and small brands, and we never found the perfect gin. So for a birthday present, she bought me a day at gin school, and off we went to gin school to see if we could do any better. Not expecting to do any better at all, but it would just be fun to learn how our favourite tipple made. And the gin we created that day, the master distiller on the day thought it was fabulous. Everybody wanted to drink our gin at the end of the day, not the gins they created. And we thought maybe we've got something here. So we got all the licenses we needed. You need 9 separate licenses to make and sell gin in the UK at the time. We went through all that process. We developed our gin on a tiny still throughout that summer. And then October 2018, we launched that product as a commercial product. And that was the very same gin that 18 months later was named the world's best gin at the World Gin Awards. So, with a few tweaks, it was a gin we created purely by accident on that day at gin school that became the world's best gin.
And spotted that opportunity and took that opportunity to what you've got today.
Absolutely. And, it could have been purely an accident, but the other 75, 76 awards that we've had for all our other products over the years show that actually it wasn't just an accident. We seem to have a knack of creating fabulous ultra premium spirits.
Got something right there without a shadow of a doubt then, haven't you? So how long have you been running for now?
So we launched as a business in October 2018, incorporating in April 2019. Okay. So yeah, it's literally coming up to our 6th birthday.
Yeah, so a good few years into it as well. And so if you had the opportunity to sort of go back to day one, what would you do anything differently to sort of set the business up and run it differently to what you've got now?
I think I would branding.
Okay.
So I think our message is good, and our provenance and our story is great, and we've evolved in our storytelling, but the content of the story hasn't changed. But we've evolved. We're on our third iteration of our branding. I mean, key elements remain throughout, but we are much more premium now. The issue we had was that we had some of the best liquid in the world. The spirits were world class, hence the awards. But our packaging was probably less than ordinary.
Okay.
And in our industry, it's a truism that the first bottle is bought with the eyes off the shelf. It's not bought with the taste. The second bottle is because the liquid is fabulous, but the first bottle is bought based on branding, bottle appeal, and so on. And we didn't get that right. We didn't know anything about that. So had we had the knowledge, the experience, the advice and the funding to do that right from day one, that would have made quite a difference, I think, on day one. So that's the first message I would give to anybody is think long and hard about your branding, because that is your product. That's what people see.
And I suppose it's thinking long term with it as well, isn't it? So it's not just about what you've got today, it's what you're building in the future and whether that branding sort of represents what you want to become.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is your personality.
Yeah.
You've got to get that right. I'm thinking you're quirky or small or local. That doesn't work if you want any form of growth. So you've really got to think about that.
Again, market share, research, then understand what the market wants.
Absolutely.
As opposed to what you emotionally think looks nice, it's actually what the market thinks looks nice is what's crucial there.
And any craft industry, craft doesn't necessarily mean small. Craft doesn't necessarily mean local, unless you want to limit yourself in that way. Yeah. So I mean, for example, our name Sky Wave, people ask where that name comes from, and we're based in Bicester in Oxfordshire. We couldn't be Oxford Gin. There was already one of those. We didn't want to be Bicester Gin, great place, but people can't even say it, let alone let alone know where it is.
Yeah,
that would have fixed us in time and space, and we didn't want to be fixed in that way. So we deliberately chose a large, expansive name that evokes travel and adventure, and it's a little bit unusual, but didn't fix us. Yes. So right from the start, that name was something that we thought long and hard about, but perhaps the graphics and the bottle shape and all of that, we wouldn't do the same way if we did that again.
Some good lessons there, like you say, thinking sort of bigger, thinking longer term, and thinking really about what's important to you over that journey is a strong message. In terms of the success, you've had some success over the years, and clearly you're getting some formulas right because of all the awards you're winning. How has the business grown in terms of team size and sort of scale over those years?
Oh, immeasurably. I mean, we started off in a converted room at the back of our house. Yeah. Just the two of us, literally doing it hands-on. In fact, at one point, until we went to our second still, we were distilling 7 times a day, 7 days a week, just to keep up with demand. And in fact, that's influenced some of our recipes and how our recipes work. There's some historical quirks in our recipes, which clearly works as well. But so we started that, and then we did that through lockdown, and we couldn't carry on. We didn't have enough space, and we simply didn't. We'd outgrown the space, so we moved into the distillery that you can see here behind me now. In fact, you can see 2 of the stills over my right shoulder on that side. That side is the still that we had, and then behind me is our main production still. And we could only get that main production still when we moved into this site at Bicester Heritage. Moving to this site meant that we then needed a distillery manager. We've also got a distillery hand and assistant distiller. We have a sales manager out on the ground and a salesman out on the ground, and we also have staff. We've got 6 in the bar team. So we've gone from the 2 of us to a team of 12 now, as we've grown over the last really since 2021. It was January 21 we moved into here. So since then, that's the growth.
And there comes quite a change in terms of, like you say, just the 2 of you doing it on your own to having a bigger team and then becoming a business owner, for want of a better description. What sort of challenges did you face over those periods of growth and that bringing a wider team in?
So everything that you would expect. So you've got HR challenges, you've got staffing challenges. You've got it introduces cash flow issues, of course, because you've got to think about that. You can't live hand to mouth when you've got staff to pay. Into rotoring, into availability of staff, but sales forecasting, production against the sales forecast. It's a absolute step change. I'm so sorry, phone just run. It's an absolute step change from just worrying about the two of you. Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, for other business owners out there, because quite often growth sometimes is limited around their ability to grow the team around them. Have you got any sort of words of sort of advice to somebody looking to grow their business and a little bit cautious around, you know, getting the team around them and growing the team? What sort of advice would you give them?
Do you know, I would say qualifications are useful, but they're not everything.
Okay.
Someone who's got the right attitude and the right culture fit for your organization is probably more valuable than someone who's got qualifications as long as their arm. Yeah. And in some cases, you can't get qualified people. Our distillery manager is an absolutely fabulous, turn a hand to anything and everything kind of person. But she'd never managed a gin distillery in her life. But she was the right attitude and cultural fit for our business. Our distillery hand assistant distiller is also willing to, you know, turn his hand to anything. And again, didn't know anything about gin distilling, but now he's very, very good and very competent. So if you get the people with the right attitude and the right cultural fit, they can be trained. They don't have to have, you know, experience as long as your arm. So I think that's what I would do. Don't be obsessed with a paper sift of qualifications and previous experience.
Okay, very good. And then time. Clearly, you've got a lot of plate spinning, you know, with growth and with the bars and bits and pieces. How do you manage your time and that sort of balance between personal life, business life, and being productive?
So firstly, you work long hours. There's no doubt that as a business owner, a small business owner, you work long hours and you do what you have to do. But I think it's also really important to know that when you finish for the day, you're going to switch the laptop off and you're not going to turn it back on until you've decided you're going to turn it back on. Take weekends where you can, take holidays. It's really important for your mental health to have that. I'm very good, and I don't know whether it's an army background or what, I'm very good at putting things into boxes.
Okay.
So if I'm doing something tonight at 6 o'clock, then I will finish doing Sky Wave at 5:30. I will put it in a box. I'll put a lid on that box and I won't open that box until tomorrow morning. I won't worry about it tonight. I won't be thinking about it. When you work and live with your business partner, so the other director, Rachel, is my wife. Yeah. Sometimes she's tempted over dinner to say, can we just talk about this? And I'll go, no, it's in the box. Let's talk about it in the morning. It's in the box now. Otherwise you would never stop. And it starts to affect your health and your mental. So to me, it's all about compartmentalizing, boxing. When you're stopping, you're stopping. When you're starting again, you're starting. Full on when you're in and work long hours. Don't be afraid. And if you miss an opportunity because someone's trying to phone you at 6:30 at night, it doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world. There'll be another opportunity. So don't be obsessed about chasing everything.
That's the challenge, isn't it? Sometimes it's that fear of missing out. It's those, I just need to, or I got this little bit, and you carry on and it keeps going and keeps going. How much of that discipline has come from the army background, do you think?
I should imagine quite a lot, actually. So the army is very good at training you to sort of make decisions, corral the information you need to make that decision. Don't worry about all the other noise. So I would suggest quite a lot, but it's a really good, valuable lesson. It's about being able to switch off at the right time and know what you need to make a decision when you need to make it.
Yeah, there's a story. It's actually James Vincent, our head of coaching in the Action Coach community. He often tells about some, I can't remember the name of the lady, but approaching Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, asking from their perspective, their sort of top tip in terms of being successful business. And they both looked at each other, looked back to her and said, focus. And it's kind of having that unwavering focus. And what you've described there is being very disciplined around being focused on what you've got to do at the moment, parking it when you then need to be focused on whether that's home life, whether that's family, whether that's business or whatever, being really present in what you're doing, really focused on what you're doing, but being able to then move on to something else and being focused on that. It's not an
Yes.
easy skill to. It's not an easy skill to learn. It's kind of quite a challenge for a lot of people out there. It's really good advice.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
terms of future growth, then, so you've got a successful track record, plenty of awards, lots of success there. What's the future hold for you guys? Where do you want to take it? What's the ambitions?
So it's a really good question, and I think it's really important to have a strategy. We had a strategy meeting quite recently with some of our senior management, and we identified sort of the key areas that we need to focus.
Okay.
We need to grow more distributors in the UK, more outlets in the UK, more distributors. It's really hard to sell an FMCG product like ours using shoe leather and walking down the street and knocking on the door of every pub, shop and restaurant. It's really hard to sell gin like that and very inefficient.
Yeah.
The secret is to get through your national distributors. So more listings, more distributors, and getting into the chains, whether they're the multiples, the supermarkets, or whether they are the chains of bars and restaurants and pubs. So that's the first piece of strategy in the UK. The second is travel retail. So travel retail is really growing at the moment. We're in the final stages of securing a listing. I won't say what or where, might jinx it, but travel retail listing, that's really important to us, because it is a massively growing market, particularly in the spirits sector. And the third is export. So where the UK market is probably stabilizing, I think, certainly for, shall I say, mainstream gin. Premium and ultra premium is very much still growing. There's still double-digit growth in those sectors, but in the more ordinary gin market, shall we say, that's flattening. It's not necessarily dropping, but it's flattening.
Yeah.
The export market is growing, so an awful lot in Europe, and we have a European distributor which we're working with and growing. South America is growing in the gin world. India is huge, and the Far East in general. Japan is growing and loves British gin at the moment. So all of those markets are markets we'd like to tap into.
Okay.
And so we need, once when we're looking for funding to help to do that. So securing funding for tapping into those is the top of the strategy. And then as I say, growing in the UK and growing in travel retail. So that's our 3-point strategy for growth.
So it's a really, really nice strategy. And what I sort of picked from that, from a business sense, is that you've got a very clear vision in terms of where you want to take it. You've got a plan, so you've got a structure in terms of 3 different strategies to go to market to expand. So if 2 go well and 1 doesn't, you've got 2 that are going well, or 3 go well. Fantastic. You've got that sort of multi-layered approach to it. So clearly very well thought through.
Yes, and based on data, based on research, based on what's happening in the industry, based on where demand is coming from. So yeah, it's not just plucked out of the air. We actually use a very experienced industry consultant as well to help us on those strategy days. So it's not just internal. Sometimes you can make yourself believe what you want to believe. 100%. Somebody else in the room that says that's not quite right, look at the data, then you can be a bit more grounded.
It's a good point, actually, because it's often overlooked looking at numbers. So from a sales point of view, we buy based on emotion, backed up by logic. When you grow in a business, you kind of want to flip it the other way, don't you? It's like, what do the numbers say? And let's leave our emotions to one side at the moment. We need to be passionate about it. We need to be able to drive it forward. But like you say, you don't want to then wrap all of your emotion around it, thinking it's the right way to go, and the numbers just don't stack up. Yeah, very good. So in terms of you, then, you're clearly a very motivated, very driven individual. What keeps you going? What keeps you motivated in this entrepreneurial journey?
A belief, an absolute and utter belief in the brand and the product. Okay. And then you really get a kick from other people loving it. We were at I won't name this, well, I will name the supermarket. We were at a Sainsbury's store that we're listed in the other day, and we were going in to check the merch and check how it was on the shelf and so on. And a complete stranger came up, because we were wearing branded t-shirts. A complete stranger came up and said, "I absolutely love your gin. It's the best gin I've ever had." And you think, I don't know this guy, and he's just come up and told me that, and it's such a kick. So you still get a thrill from seeing a product that you created 6 years ago that's now on multiple shelves, and people are recognizing it and loving it. So that is a real buzz. It really is.
How much do you think the success and growth comes down to that love of the brand and the product?
I think you have to absolutely believe in what you're doing. If it's just a job, then you probably wouldn't put in the long hours. You probably wouldn't take risks. You probably wouldn't do all of that. So I think you have to absolutely believe in and love your brand. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think there's a lot of business owners out there that get to a point where that love starts to wane, that passion starts to wane. It becomes a bit, and it's kind of, how do you keep that fire going? How do you keep that passion going when you're in that stage? It's a really interesting story. I mean, it's fascinating how you sort of, like, you know, like say a freak opportunity of something coming up in a day excursion, day experience day, to then turning it into a very solid business, very solid future for the business as well. It's really inspirational.
And totally by accident. It really is.
That's amazing.
People are amused and entertained by that as a story, and it's part of the brand. It's part of the brand.
Great story. Yeah, it's a great story. Listen, it's been really good to hear from you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. For our listeners, where can they go to find out a bit more about the gins, the vodkas, the products you offer, and sort of follow what you're up to?
So straight to our website, skywavegin.com, skywavegin.com. Our story is on there, all our products are on there, all our latest news is on there. So that's the place to go, and you can get in touch with us through the website as well. We still have the personal touch from myself and Rachel. If a message comes in and you want to know something personal, we will be responding to those emails. And we also have a distillery tours, so they're bookable through the website as well, every Friday and Saturday afternoon, some Sundays, and you can get some hands on there and see actually where we do it, where we make the gin, see the stills, taste the gin. So up close and personal with Sky Wave through the distillery tools as well. So all there through the website. Yeah.
Fantastic, brilliant, great excuse to drink gin.
You don't need an excuse to drink gin.
That's true. Andrew, listen, thank you again for your time today. It's been really good talking to you. Appreciate you sharing your story with us.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Thanks.